Welcome, everyone. I'm back with another reading stream. Now, the plan is to do two reading streams this week, so tonight and Thursday, and then instead of reading stream Tuesday, or doing the reading streams Monday and Tuesday, so that way, basically, hopefully, what I'm planning on doing is getting this read in 3 sessions, so that way on Tuesday next week, I can read just a bunch of stories from this. And then Wednesday will be a Borderlands stream, and then Thursday will be Massacre at the Mirage. So that's how it's going to work out basically. So this week, reading streams Tuesday and Thursday, and then Monday and Tuesday next week instead of Tuesday and Thursday. So yeah, Massacre at the Mirage is next Thursday because I wanted to do it the day before Halloween. All right, but welcome everyone. So if Last Toxic Male pops in, I found a book that I think he's one of the few who would, I mean, not that he's the only one, but would appreciate. But anyway, because I was looking through a bunch of books that I'd packed away, and I was like, I forgot I got this. But anyway, I figured I can get through 9 chapters of this because the chapters themselves are not that long. They are really not that long at all. There's only like 29 total chapters in this book, some much shorter than others. So, without further ado, let's just dive right into Ghost Beach. Yep. I don't remember how we got to the graveyard. I remember the sky grew dark and we were there. My sister Terry and I walked past rows of crooked old tombstones cracked and covered with moss. Even though it was summer, a damp gray fog had settled on everything, sending a chill through the air. I shivered and pulled my jacket closer. "Wait up, Terry," I called. As usual, she had plowed ahead. Graveyards get her all excited. Where are you?" I yelled. I squinted into the gray fog. I could see her shadowy figure up ahead, stopping every few seconds to examine a tombstone. I read the words on the tombstone tilted at my feet. "In memory of John, son of Daniel and Sarah Knapp, who died March 25th, 1766, aged 12 years and 22 days. Weird, I thought. That kid was about my age when he died. I turned 12 in February. The same month, Terry turned 11. I hurried on. A sharp wind swept in. I searched the rows of old graves for my sister. She had disappeared into the thick fog. "Terry, where did you go?" I called. Her voice floated back to me. "I'm over here, Jerry." "Where?" I pushed forward through the mist and the leaves. The wind swirled around me. From nearby came a long, low howl. "Must be a dog," I murmured aloud. The trees rattled their leaves at me. I shivered. "Jerry!" Terry's voice sounded a million miles away. I walked a little further and then steadied myself against a tall tombstone. "Terry, wait up! Stop moving around so much!" I heard another long howl. "You're going the wrong way," Terry called. "I'm over here." "Great, thanks a lot," I muttered. Why couldn't I have a sister who liked baseball instead of exploring old cemeteries? What's his problem? I like doing that. The wind made a deep sucking noise. A column of leaves, dust, and dirt swirled up in my face. I pinched my eyes shut. When I opened them, I saw Terry crouched over a small grave. "Don't move," I called. "I'm coming." I zigzagged my way around the tombstones until I reached her side. "It's getting dark," I said. "Let's get out of here." I zigzagged my way... Okay, sorry. I turned and took a step, and something grabbed my ankle. I screamed and tried to pull away, but its grasp tightened. A hand, reaching up through the dirt beside the grave. I let out a shrill scream. Sorry. Heard my dog and I had to quiet her. Alright. Alright. I let out a shrill scream. Terry screamed too. I kicked hard and broke free. "Run!" Terry shrieked, but I was already running. As Terry and I stumbled over the wet grass, green hands popped up everywhere. Thwack, 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 pop, pop. The hands rose up, reached for us, grabbed at our ankles. I darted to the left. Thwack. I dodged to the right. Pop. Run, Terry, run, I called to my sister. Lift your knees. I could hear her sneakers pounding the ground behind me. Then I heard her terrified cry, Jerry, they've got me. With a loud gasp, I spun around. Two big hands had wrapped themselves around her ankles. I froze, watching my sister struggle. Jerry, help me! It won't let go! Taking a deep breath, I dove toward her. Grab onto me, I instructed, holding out my arms. I kicked at the two hands that held her. Kicked as hard as I could, but they didn't move, didn't let go. I can't move, Terry wailed. The dirt seemed to shake at my feet. I peered down to see more hands sprouting up from the ground. I tugged at Terry's wrist. Move, I yelled frantically. I can't. Yes, you can. You've got to keep trying. Oh, I let out a low cry as two hands grabbed my ankles. Now I was caught. We were both trapped. Jerry, what's your problem? Terry asked. I blinked. Terry stood beside me on a rocky strip of beach. I stared out at the calm ocean water beyond us and shook my head. Wow, that was weird, I murmured. I was remembering a bad dream I had a few months ago. Terry frowned at me. Why now? It was about a cemetery, I explained. I turned back to glance at the tiny old cemetery we'd just discovered at the edge of the pine woods behind us. In my dream, green hands were popping out of the ground and grabbing our ankles. Welcome, everyone. And Dan, you must really want to be physically assaulted. I can't assume anything else based on your messages. Anyway. Gross, Terry replied. She brushed her dark brown bangs off her face. Except for the fact that she is 1 inch taller than me, we look like a perfect brother and sister combination. Same short brown hair, same freckles across our nose, same hazel eyes. One difference, Terry has deep dimples in her cheeks when she smiles, and I don't. Thank goodness. We walked along the ocean shore for a few minutes. Tall gray boulders and scraggly pines stretched all the way to the water. Maybe you remembered that dream because you're nervous, Terry said thoughtfully. You know, about being away from home for a whole month. Well, maybe, I agreed. We've never been away this long. But what could happen here? Brad and Agatha are really great. Brad Sadler is our distant cousin. Ancient distant cousin is more like it. Dad said Brad and his wife Agatha were old when he was a kid. But they're both fun and really energetic despite their age. So when they invited us to come up to New England and spend the last month of summer with them in their old cottage near the beach, Terry and I eagerly said yes. It sounded great, especially since our only other choice was the cramped, hot apartment where we live in New Jersey. We had arrived by train that morning. Brad and Agatha met us at the platform and drove us along the pine woods to the cottage. After we had a chance to unpack and have some lunch, big bowls of creamy clam chowder, Agatha said, "Now why don't you kids have a look around? There's a lot to explore." So here we were, checking things out. Terry grabbed my arm. "Hey, let's go back and check out that little cemetery," she suggested eagerly. I don't know, my frightening dream was still fresh in my mind. Oh, come on. There won't be any green hands, I promise, and I bet I can find some really cool gravestones for rubbings. Terry loves exploring old graveyards. She loves all kinds of scary things. She reads scary mysteries by the dozen, and the weird thing is, she always reads the last chapter first. That is my mom. Terry has to solve the mystery. She can't stand not knowing the answer. My sister has a million interests, but gravestone rubbings is one of her strange hobbies. She tapes a piece of rice paper over the gravestone inscription and then rubs the design onto the paper, using the side of a special wax crayon. Hey, wait up, I called to her, but Terry was already jogging up the beach toward the cemetery. Come on, Jerry, she called, don't be a chicken. I followed her off the beach and into the small forest. It smelled fresh and piney. The cemetery was just inside, surrounded by a crumbly stone wall. We squeezed through the narrow opening in the wall that led inside. Terry began inspecting the tombstones. Wow, some of these markers are really old, she announced. Check out this one. She pointed at a small gravestone. Engraved on the front was a skull with wings sprouting on either side of its head. It's a death's head, my sister explained. Very old Puritan symbol. Creepy, huh? She read the inscription. Here lies the body of Mr. John Sadler, who departed this life March 18th, 1642, in the 38th year of his age. Sadler, like us, I said. Wow, I wonder if we're related. I did some quick calculations. If we are, John Sadler is our great-great-great-great-great-grand something. He died over 350 years ago. Terry had already moved on to another group of markers. Here's one from 1647, and another from 1652. I don't think I've ever gotten rubbings this old before. She disappeared behind a tall tombstone. Welcome everyone again. My brother took all the Goosebumps books, Mike. If I had the collection, I would have been able to read Night of the Living Dummy. I knew where we'd be spending the month. I had enough of cemeteries for today, though. Come on, let's explore the beach, okay? I checked around for Terry. Terry, where'd you go? I stepped over to the tall tombstone. Not there. Terry, the ocean breeze rustled the pine branches above us. Terry, cut it out, okay? I took a couple of steps. You know I don't like this, I warned. Terry's head popped up from behind a tombstone about 10 feet away. Why? You scared? I didn't like the grin on her face. Who, me? I said, never. Terry stood up. Okay, chicken, but I'm coming back here tomorrow. She followed me out of the cemetery and onto the rocky beach. I wonder what's down here, I said, heading along the shoreline. Oh, look at this! Terry stooped to pluck a tiny yellow and white wildflower that had sprouted up between two large rocks. Butter and egg, she announced. Weird name for a wildflower, huh? Very, I agreed. Terry Sadler, hobby number 2. Wildflowers. She likes to collect them and press them in a huge cardboard contraption called a plant press. Terry frowned. Now what's your problem? We keep stopping. I want to go exploring. Agatha said there's a small beach down here where we can go swimming if we want. Okay, she replied, rolling her hazel eyes. We trudged on until we reached a small sandy beach. It was really more rock than sand. Staring out to the water, I saw a long rock jetty stretching out into the ocean. Wonder what that's for, Terry said. It helps hold the beach together, I explained. I was just about to launch into my explanation of beach erosion when Terry gasped. Jerry, look! Up there! She cried. She pointed to a tall mound of rocks just past the jetty along the shoreline. Nestled high into the rocks on top of a wide ledge sat a large, dark cave. Let's climb up and explore it, Terry cried eagerly. No, wait! I remembered what Mom and Dad had said to me that morning as we boarded the train. Keep an eye on Terry and don't let her get too carried away with things. It might be dangerous, I said. I'm the older brother, after all, and I'm the sensible one. She made a face. Give me a break, she muttered. Terry made her way across the beach and toward the cave. At least let's get a closer look. We can ask Brad and Agatha later whether or not it's safe. I followed behind her. Yeah, right, like 90-year-olds ever go cave exploring. As we came nearer, I had to admit it was an awesome cave. I'd never seen one that large except in an old Boy Scout magazine. I wonder if someone lives in it, Terry said, excitedly. You know, like a beach hermit. She cupped her hands around her mouth and called, Ooh! Sometimes Terry can be such a dork. I mean, if you were living inside a cave and you heard someone go, woo, would you answer back? Woo, my sister did it again. Let's go, I urged. Then from inside the cave, a long, low whistle pierced the air. Yes, Jody. Yep. Ghost Beach. Alright. We stared at each other. Whoa, what was that? Terry whispered. An owl? I swallowed. I don't think so. Owls are only awake at night. We heard it again. A long whistle floating out from deep inside the cave. We exchanged glances. What could it be? A wolf? A coyote? I bet Brad and Agatha are wondering where we are, Terry said softly. Maybe we should go. Yeah, okay. I turned to leave, but stopped when I heard a fluttering sound. From behind the cave. Growing louder. I shielded my eyes with my hand and squinted up at the sky. No! I grabbed Terry's arm as a shadow swept over us. An enormous bat swooped down at us, red eyes flashing, its pointed teeth glistening, hissing as it attacked. The bat swooped low, so low I could feel the air from its fluttering wings. Terry and I dropped to the hard ground. I covered my head with both hands. My heart was pounding so loudly. I couldn't hear the fluttering wings. Hey, where'd it go? I heard Terry cry. I peeped out. I could see the bat spiraling up into the sky. I watched it swoosh and dip beyond us. Then suddenly it went into a wild spin. It crashed onto the rocks nearby. I could see one black wing flapping weakly in the breeze. Slowly I climbed to my feet, my heart still thudding. What made it drop like that? I asked in a shaky voice. I started toward it. Terry held me back. Stay away. Bats can carry rabies, you know. I'm not going to get that close, I told her. I just want to take a look. I've never seen a real bat close up. I guess you could say that my hobby is science, too. I love studying all kinds of animals. She almost was tickling my lips. Here, check it out, I announced, scrambling over the smooth gray boulders. Careful, Jerry, warned Terry. If you get rabies, you'll get me in trouble. Thanks for your concern, I muttered sarcastically. I stepped about 4 feet from the bats. Whoa, I don't believe it, I cried. I heard Terry burst out laughing. It wasn't a bat, it was a kite. I stared in disbelief. The two red eyes that had seemed so menacing were painted on paper. One of the wings had been ripped to shreds when it crashed on the rocks. We both bent over to examine the wreckage. Look out, it bites, the boy's voice called from behind us. Startled, Terry and I leapt back. I turned and saw a boy about our age standing on a tall rock. He had a ball of string in his hand. "Uh-huh, great joke," Terry said sarcastically. The boy grinned at us, but he didn't reply. He stepped closer. I could see that he had freckles across his nose just like me, and brown hair the same shade as mine. He turned back toward the rocks and called, "You can come out now." 2 kids, a girl about our age and a little boy about 5, clambered over the rocks. The little boy had light blonde hair and blue eyes, and his ears poked out. The girl's hair was auburn, and she wore it in braids. All 3 of them had the same freckles across their noses. Good evening, everyone. Are you all in the same family? Terry asked them. The tallest boy, the one who had come out first, nodded his head. Yeah, we're all Sadlers. I'm Sam, that's Louisa, that's Nat. Wow, I said, we're Sadlers too. I introduced Terry and myself. Sam didn't seem impressed. There's lots of Sadlers around here, he muttered. We stared at each other for a long moment. They didn't seem very friendly. But then Sam surprised me by asking if I wanted to skip rocks in the water. We followed Sam to the water's edge. Do you live around here? Terry asked. Louisa nodded. What are you doing here? She asked. She sounded suspicious. We're visiting our cousins for the month, Terry told her. They're Sadlers too. They live in the little cottage just past the lighthouse. Do you know them? Sure, Louisa said without smiling. This is a small place. Everyone knows everyone else. I found a smooth, flat stone and skipped it across the water. 3 skips. Not bad. What do you do for fun around here? I asked. Louisa replied, staring out at the water. We go blueberry picking. We play games. We come down to the water. She turned to me. Why? What did you do today? Nothing yet. We just got here, I told her. I grinned, except we were attacked by a bat kite. They laughed. I'm going to do gravestone rubbings and collect wildflowers, Terry said. There are some beautiful flower patches back in the woods, Louisa told her. I watched Sam skip a stone across the water. 7 skips. He turned to me and grinned. Practice makes perfect. It's hard to practice in an apartment building, I muttered. Huh? Sam said. We live in Hoboken, I explained, in New Jersey. There aren't any ponds in our building. Terry pointed back to the cave. Do you ever go exploring in there? She asked. Nat gasped. Sam and Louisa's faces twisted in surprise. Are you kidding? Louisa cried. We never go there, Sam said softly, eyeing his sister. Never? Terry said. All 3 of them shook their heads. Why not? Terry asked. What's the big deal? Yeah, I demanded. Why won't you go near the cave? Louisa's eyes grew wide. Do you believe in ghosts? She asked. Ghosts? Or say, believe in ghosts? No way, Terry told her. I kept my mouth shut. I knew that ghosts weren't supposed to be real, but what if all the scientists were wrong? There are so many ghost stories from all around the world. How can ghosts not be real? Maybe that's why I sometimes get scared when I'm in strange places. I think I do believe in ghosts. Of course, I would never admit this to Terry. She is always so scientific. She'd laugh at me forever. The 3 Sadler kids had clustered together. Come on, do you guys really believe in ghosts? Terry asked. Louisa took a step forward. Sam tried to pull her back, but she brushed him off. If you go near that cave, you might change your mind, she said, narrowing her eyes. You mean there are ghosts in there? I asked. What do they do? Come out at night or something? Louisa started to reply, but Sam interrupted. We've got to go now, he said, scooting his brother and sister past us. Hey, wait, I called. We want to hear about the ghosts. They hurried on. I could see Sam yelling angrily at Louisa. I guess he was upset because she mentioned the ghosts. They disappeared around the beach. Or down the beach, I should say. Then from inside the cave, we heard that long, low whistle again. Terry stared at me. It's the wind, I said. I really didn't believe that. Terry didn't believe it either. Why don't we ask Brad and Agatha about the cave, I suggested. Good idea, Terry said. Even she looked a little scared now. Brad and Agatha's cottage was a short walk from the cave. It perched by itself on the edge of the pine forest, looking out toward the lighthouse. I ran up to the heavy wooden front door and pushed it open. I peered around the tiny front parlor. The old house creaked and groaned as I walked over the sagging floorboards. The ceiling hung so low I could touch it when I stood on tiptoe. Terry came up beside me. Are they here? I don't think so, I answered, looking around. We stepped past the old sofa and wide stone fireplace and into the cramped kitchen. Off the kitchen stood an old storeroom where I was to sleep. Upstairs was Brad and Agatha's room, with a crawl-through passage into the space above the storeroom, which would be Terry's room. A tiny back staircase led from Terry's room down to the yard. Terry turned to the window. There they are, she said, in the garden. I could see Brad bent over a tomato stalk. Agatha was hanging some clothes to dry on the clothesline. We raced out the kitchen door. Where have you been? Agatha demanded. She and Brad both had white hair, and their eyes seemed faded and tired. They were so frail and light. Between them, I don't think they weighed more than 100 pounds. We explored the beach, I told them. I knelt down beside Brad. He was missing the top part of 2 of his fingers on his left hand. He told us they got caught in a wolf trap when he was young. We found an old cave and some huge rocks. Have you ever seen it? I asked. He gave a little grunt and kept searching for ripe tomatoes. It's right by the beach and the big rock jetty, Terry added. You can't miss it. Agatha's sheets fluttered on the line. It's nearly supper time, she said, ignoring our questions about the cave. Why don't you come inside and give me a hand, Terry? Terry glanced at me and shrugged. I turned back to Brad. I was about to ask him about the cave again when he handed me the basket of ripe tomatoes. Take these to Agatha, okay? Sure, I answered, following Terry inside. I set the basket on a small counter. The kitchen was small and narrow. Counter and sink on one side, stove and refrigerator on the other. Agatha had already put Terry to work in the corner of the living room, setting the table. Now, Terry dear, Agatha called from the kitchen. If it's asters you're after, the best place to find those is at the big meadow down past the lighthouse. Of course, they're just coming out about now, so you can take your pick there. I believe that's where you can find plenty of goldenrod, too. Great, Terry called back with her usual enthusiasm. I don't know how she could get so pumped about flowers. Agatha noticed the basket of tomatoes on the counter. Oh gracious, all these tomatoes. She opened a rattly old drawer and pulled out a small knife. Why don't you cut up these for the big green salad? I must have made a face. Don't you like salad? Agatha asked. Not really, I said. I mean, I'm not a rabbit. Agatha laughed. You're absolutely right, she said. Why ruin the homegrown tomato with lettuce? We'll have them plain, with maybe a little dressing. Sounds good, I grinned, picking up the knife. I listened to Agatha and Terry discuss wildflowers for a few minutes to see if the subject of the cave would come up again. It didn't. I wondered why 2 old cousins didn't want to talk about it. After dinner, Brad pulled out an old deck of playing cards and taught Terry and me how to play whist. It's an old-fashioned card game that I'd never heard of before. Brad got a kick out teaching us the rules. He and I played against Terry and Agatha. Every time I got mixed up, which was almost most of the time, he'd wag his finger back and forth at me. I guess it saved him from having to say anything. We went to bed after the card game. It was early, but I didn't care. It had been a long day, and I was glad to get some rest. The bed was hard, but I fell asleep as soon as my head hit the scratchy, feathery pillow. The next morning, Terry and I made our way to the woods to collect plants and wildflowers. What is it we're looking for again? I asked Terry as I kicked aside piles of dead leaves. Indian pipe, Terry replied. It looks like small, pinkish-white bones popping out of the ground. It's also called corpse plant because it lives on the remains of dead plants. Yuck, I suddenly remembered the popping hands in my cemetery dream. Terry laughed. You should like these plants, she said. They're a scientific puzzle. They're white because they don't have any chlorophyll, you know, the stuff that makes plants turn green. How interesting, I said sarcastically, rolling my eyes. Terry continued her lecture anyway. Agatha said Indian pipe only grows in very dark places. They look more like a fungus than a plant. She dug around for a few minutes. The weirdest thing about them, she continued, is if they dry out, they turn black. That's why I want to try pressing a few. I poked around in the leaves some more. I have to admit she had me hooked. I love freaks of nature. I peered up at the heavy leaf canopy above us. We're definitely as deep into the woods as we can be. Are you sure this is where Agatha said you can find them? Terry nodded. She pointed to a huge fallen oak tree. That's our landmark. Don't lose it. I started toward the big tree. Maybe I'll take a closer look over there. There might be Indian pipe on that dead tree. I knelt down by the snake-like tree roots and began carefully pushing dead leaves aside. No wildflowers, just bugs and worms. It was really gross. I glanced back at Terry. She didn't seem to be having any luck either. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed something white sticking out of the ground. I scurried over to examine it. A short plant stem stuck up from the soft ground. The stem was covered with rolled up leaves. I tugged at the stem. It didn't come up. I pulled harder. The stem rose up a little, bringing a clump of soft dirt with it. It isn't a stem, I realized. It's some kind of root. A root with leaves. Weird. I pulled more of it up from the ground. It was very long, I discovered. A hard tug, then another. Another hard tug of the strange root brought up a huge mound of dirt. I glanced into the large hole I had made and uttered a sharp cry. Terry, come here, I managed to choke out. I found a skeleton. Huh? Terry raced to my side. We both stood and stared down at it in silence. The skeleton I discovered lay curled on its side, every bone neatly in place. The empty eye socket in its gray skull gaped up at us. Is it human? Terry stammered in a low whisper. Not unless the human has 4 legs, genius, I replied. Terry stared down at it, her mouth open in an O of surprise. Well then, what is it? Some kind of large animal, I told her. Maybe a deer. I stooped to take a closer look. No, not a deer. It has toe bones, not hooves. I studied the skull, which was fairly large and had sharp incisors or teeth. When I was 9, I had a thing about skeletons. I must have read every book ever written about skeletons. My guess is a dog, I announced. A dog, said Terry. Oh, poor little doggy. She stared at the skeleton. How do you think it died? Maybe an animal attacked it. Terry knelt down beside me. Why would anyone want to eat a dog? They're high in protein, I joked. She shoved me hard. Jerry, I'm serious. What animal around here eats dogs? A wolf, maybe. Or a fox, I replied thoughtfully. Wouldn't a wolf or a fox have crunched a few of the bones and left more of a mess? Terry asked. This skeleton is in perfect shape. Maybe it died of old age, I suggested. Or maybe someone buried it here beneath that weird root plant. Yeah, maybe it wasn't attacked by anything, Terry said. I could see the color returning to her face. We sat silently over the skeleton for a minute, thinking about the dog. A shrill animal howl made us both jump to our feet. The frightening sound filled the forest, echoing through the trees. We held our ears as the howling grew louder. What is it? What's making that horrible cry? Terry shrieked. I stared back at her. I didn't know. I only knew it was moving closer. The howl stopped as suddenly as they started. When I turned around to make sure we were safe, I saw them. Sam, Nat, and Louisa were huddled behind a nearby tree, laughing. I glared at them. I realized instantly that they had been making the howls. Who did they think they were? It took them a long time to stop laughing. I couldn't believe how much they were enjoying their little joke. I glanced at Terry. She was blushing. My face felt hot. I guess I was blushing too. When they finally stopped laughing, I invited them over to see the skeleton. Now it was their turn to be startled. Sam's eyes grew wide. Louisa let out a short cry. Nat, the little one, grabbed onto his sister's sleeve and started to whimper. Terry dug into her jean pockets and for a tissue. Don't worry, she told Nat. She dabbed at his cheeks with her tissue. It's not a person skeleton. It's only a dog skeleton. Those words made Nat burst into tears. Louisa put her arms around Nat's trembling shoulders. Shush, she said. It's all right. But Nat couldn't calm himself down. I know what happened to this dog, he sobbed. A ghost killed it. Dogs can tell if someone's a ghost. Dogs always bark to warn about ghosts. Nat, Terry said softly, there's no such thing as ghosts. They're pretend. Sam stepped forward, shaking his head. You're wrong, he told Terry, narrowing his eyes at her. There are lots of skeletons in these woods, all because of the ghost. He picks the bones clean and leaves them lying here. Give me a break, Sam, Terry muttered. Are you trying to tell us that there's a ghost around here? Sam stared back, but didn't reply. Well, are you? Terry demanded. Suddenly, Sam's expression changed. His eyes grew wide with terror. There it is, he cried, pointing, right behind you. I let out a shriek and grabbed Terry's arm, but I knew immediately that I had been fooled again. When was I going to stop falling for Sam's dumb jokes? So, no, appreciate it, Hail the Lore, but welcome everyone. You two are too easy to scare, Sam said, grinning. Terry put her hands on her hips and glared at Sam. How about a truce, guys? These jokes are getting pretty lame. All eyes were on Sam. Yeah, okay, a truce, he murmured, but he had a grin on his face. I couldn't tell if he meant it or not. Sam, tell Jerry and me more about the ghost, Terry demanded. Were you serious about a ghost killing the dog, or was that one of your fabulous jokes? Sam kicked at a clump of dirt. Maybe some other time, he muttered. Some other time? Why not now? I asked. Louisa started to say something, but Sam tugged her away. Let's go, he said sharply. Now. Terry's expression changed to confusion. But I thought. Sam stalked off through the trees, dragging Louisa with him. Nat hurried to catch up to them. Bye, Louisa called. See you later. Did you see that? Terry cried. They really do believe there's a ghost in these woods. They didn't want to talk about it, so they left. Yeah, Topher. I stared down at the animal skeleton, lying so clean and perfect on the ground. Picked clean. Picked clean by a ghost. The words rolled through my mind. I stared hard at the jagged teeth and the pale skull. Then I turned away. Let's go back to the cottage, I murmured. We found Brad and Agatha sitting in rocking chairs under a shady tree. Agatha was slicing peaches into a large wooden bowl, and Brad watched her. Do you two like peach pie? Agatha asked. Terry and I replied it was one of our favorites. Agatha smiled. We'll have it tonight. I don't know if your dad mentioned it, but peach pie is one of my specialties. So did you find the Indian pipe? Not exactly, I replied. We found a dog skeleton instead. Agatha began slicing more quickly, the knife blade slipping over her thumb as the soft peach slices slid into the bowl. Oh my, she muttered. What kind of an animal would go after a dog? Asked Terry. Are there wolves or coyotes around here? Never seen any, Brad answered quickly. Then how do you explain that skeleton? I demanded. It was perfectly arranged, and the bones were picked clean. Agatha and Brad exchanged a worried glance. Can't say as I know, said Agatha. Slice, slice, slice. Brad, do you have any ideas? Brad rocked back and forth for a minute. Nope. Very helpful, Brad, I thought. We also met 3 kids, I said. I told them about Sam, Nat, and Louisa. They said they know you. Yep, Brad replied. Neighbors. They told us a ghost must have killed the dog. Agatha set down her paring knife and leaned her head back against the chair, laughing softly to herself. Is that what they said? Oh my. Those kids were teasing you. They love to make up ghost stories, especially that oldest boy, Sam. That's what I thought, Terry said, glancing at me. Agatha nodded. They're nice kids. You should invite them to do something with you sometime. Maybe you can all go blueberry picking. Brad cleared his throat. His pale eyes studied me. You're too smart to fall for ghost stories, aren't you? Yeah, I guess, I replied uncertainly. We spent the rest of the afternoon helping Brad weed the garden. Weeding isn't exactly my idea of a thrill, but after Brad showed us which were the good plants and which weren't, Terry and I had fun spearing the bad guys with the special weeding tools he lent us. We ate the peach pie for dessert that night, and it was delicious. Agatha and Brad wanted to hear all about our school and our friends. After dinner, Brad challenged us to another game of whist. This time I did much better. Brad only had to wiggle his finger at me a couple of times. Later, I had a tough time falling asleep. The window of my little room off the kitchen had long, flimsy, white cotton curtains that allowed the light of the full moon to shine onto my face. It felt like staring into a flashlight. I tried covering my face with a pillow, but I couldn't breathe. Then I tried resting my arm over my eyes, but my arm quickly fell asleep. I pulled a sheet up over my head. Better. I closed my eyes. The crickets were making a real racket. Then I heard something thump against the wall outside. Probably a tree branch, I told myself. Another thump. I slid a little further down in my bed. The third time I heard the sound, I took a deep breath, sat up, and tossed off the sheet. I took a careful look around the room. Nothing. Nada. Zip. I lay back down. Near the doorway, the floorboards creaked. I turned to the window. Behind the curtain, something moved. Something pale. Ghostly. The floorboards creaked again as the pale figure moved toward me. Again, welcome everyone. I opened my mouth in a low, terrified scream. Then I pulled the sheet back over my head. The room grew silent. I was trembling all over. Where was the ghost? I peeked out from the sheet. Terry stepped out from behind the curtain. Gotcha, she whispered. You creep, I choked out. How could you do that to me? Easy, she replied, grinning. All this ghost talk has you freaked out, hasn't it? I let out an angry growl, but didn't reply. My heart was still thudding in my chest. Terry sat down on the edge of the bed. She pulled her robe around her more tightly. I just couldn't resist, she said, still grinning. I came down to talk to you, and I saw you lying there with the sheet over your head. It was too tempting. I glared at her. Next time, pick on someone your own size, I said angrily. I had the sheet pulled up because I was having trouble falling asleep. Me too, Terry said. My mattress is really lumpy. He stared out the window. And besides, I was thinking about that ghost. Hey, you're the one who doesn't believe in them, remember? I insisted. I know. I really don't believe in ghosts, but Sam, Louisa, and Nat obviously do. So? So I want to find out why, don't you? Not really. I don't care if I ever see those kids again, I said. Would I live in the Addams Family house or the Munsters house? I would say Addams Family only because I watched that show more. I like both, but I would give the edge to Addams Family because I watched the show more. Right. Terry yawned. Louisa seems nice, much more friendly than Sam. I think we can get Louisa to tell us more about the ghost if we ask her. She almost told us today. Hello, Keely. Welcome everyone, again. Terry, I don't believe you, I replied, pulling the sheet up to my chin. You heard what Agatha said. Sam likes to make up stories. I don't think this is a story, Terry said. I know I'm supposed to be the scientific one in the family, but I think something strange is going on here, Jerry. I didn't answer. I was picturing the animal skeleton. I'm going to ask them about the ghost again tomorrow, Terry announced. How do you know they'll show up? Terry grinned. They always do, don't they? Haven't you noticed? No matter where we are, they always seem to be there. She paused. Do you think they're following us? I hope not, I said. Terry laughed. You're such a wimp. I threw off the covers. Am not. Terry started tickling me. Wimp, wimp, wimp. I grabbed her arm and twisted it behind her back. Then I started tickling her back. Take it back, I said. Okay, okay, she cried. I didn't mean it. And you'll never call me a wimp again? Never. As soon as I let go of her arm, she ran to the doorway. See you in the morning. Wimp, she called. She disappeared through the kitchen. At breakfast the next morning, Agatha asked, what do you kids have planned for today? A swim, I guess, I replied, glancing at Terry. Down at the beach. Be careful of the tide down there, Brad warned. It can sweep a full-grown man off his feet. Terry and I glanced at each other. I don't think we'd ever heard Brad put two full sentences together before. We will, Terry promised. We'll probably do more wading than swimming. Agatha handed me a banged-up metal pail. Might want to pick up some sea urchins or sea stars. A few minutes later, I took the pail and a couple of old beach towels, and Terry and I headed down the twisty path along the shoreline. We scrambled up and down the rocks until we came to a spot not far from the sandy beach and the cave. We slid down the giant rock underneath us, and then climbed on all fours to cross a few smaller rocks until we reached a wide mossy tide pool, about 3 feet from the water's edge. The tide pool was about the size of a kiddie pool. Wow, Jerry, Terry exclaimed, staring into the water. I see tons of stuff in here. She reached into the green, slimy water and pulled out a sea star. It's so tiny, not even the size of my palm. Maybe it's a baby. She turned it over. Its legs wiggled. Hello, cute little sea star, she sang. Yuck. I'll go get the pail, okay? I said. I climbed back over the rocks to where we left our things. Guess who was bent over our stuff? Snooping. Find anything good? I called sharply. Sam glanced up slowly. I was wondering whose towels these were, he said casually. Nat and Louisa came bounding over the rocks. Where's Terry? Louisa asked. I motioned toward the water. Down by the tide pool. I grabbed the pail. They followed me back down. Terry smiled when she saw us. I could tell she was happy to see Louisa and her brothers. Look at all the cool stuff I found in here, Terry declared. Along the smooth surface of a large flat rock, she lined up a baby sea star, 2 sea urchins, and a hermit crab. We crowded together to see. Terry held out the sea star. Aren't his feet cute? She asked Nat. He giggled. We spent a few minutes examining everything. Nat started rattling off everything he'd ever learned about crabs. Louisa finally had to cut him off. I want to hear more about the ghost, Terry told Louisa. Nothing more to tell, Louisa replied softly. She glanced nervously at Sam. Had he warned her not to talk about it, anymore? Terry refused to give up. Where does the ghost live? She demanded. Louisa and Sam exchanged glances again. Come on, guys, it has to live somewhere, Terry teased. Nat gazed toward the beach and the cave. A breeze fluttered his fine blonde hair. He slapped a green fly on his skinny bare arm. Does the ghost live on the beach? Terry asked. Nat shook his head. In the cave, I guessed? Nat pinched his lips together. I thought so, Terry said. In the cave. She flashed me a triumphant grin. What else? Nat's face turned red. He hid behind Louisa. I didn't mean to tell, he whispered. It's okay, Louisa told him, petting his hair. She turned to Terry and me. The ghost is very old. No one has ever seen him come out. Louisa, Sam said sharply, I really don't think we should talk about this. Why not? Louisa shot back. They have a right to know. They don't even believe in ghosts, Sam insisted. Sorry, everyone. Well, maybe you can change my mind, Terry replied. Are you guys sure there's a ghost? Have you really seen it? Sorry, I had to take a drink. Real fast. Alright. We've seen the skeletons, Louisa said solemnly. Nat peeked his head out from behind Louisa's leg. The ghost comes out during the full moon, he announced. We don't know that for sure, Louisa corrected. He's been in the cave up there forever. Some people say for 300 years. But if you haven't seen him, I said, how do you know he's in the cave? You can see a light flickering, Sam replied. A light? I hooted. Give me a break. That could be anything. It could be a guy in there with a flashlight. Louisa shook her head. It's not that kind of light, she insisted. It's different from that. Well, a flickering light and a dog skeleton aren't enough to convince me, I said. I think you're just trying to scare us again. This time I'm not falling for it. Sam scowled. No problem, he muttered. You don't have to believe it. Really. Well, I don't, I insisted. Sam shrugged. Have fun, he said softly. He led his brother and sister back toward the woods. As soon as they were out of sight, Terry punched me in the side. Jerry, why'd you do that? I was just trying to weasel some good stuff out of them. I shook my head. Can't you see they're trying to scare us? There's no ghost. It's another dumb joke. Terry stared hard at me. I'm not so sure, she murmured. I gazed up at the enormous black hole of the cave. Despite the morning heat, it chill ran down my back. Was there an ancient ghost in there? Did I really want to find out? Agatha made a really great old-fashioned chicken pot pie for dinner. I ate all of mine except for the peas and carrots. I'm not into vegetables. Terry and I were helping Agatha with the dishes after dinner when she said, Jerry, I seem to be missing one of the beach towels. Didn't you take 2 with you this morning? I guess we did, I replied. Did we leave one at the beach, Terry asked. I tried to remember. I don't think so. I can go take a look. Don't bother, Agatha said. It's getting dark out. You can look tomorrow. I don't mind, I told her. I threw down my dish towel and bolted out the back door before she could say anything else. I was glad for an excuse to escape. That tiny kitchen was suffocating me. There was hardly any room to turn around in there. I walked along the path to the water's edge, happy to be alone for a change. Terry is okay, especially for a kid sister. We get along amazingly well, but sometimes I like to be by myself. I found the big rock where we had left our towels that morning. No sign of the missing towel. Maybe Sam took it, I thought. Maybe he planned to drape it over his head and jump out at us. I gazed up at the big cave, dark against the blue-black sky. Huh? I blinked and took a step closer. Was that a light flickering in the cave? I took another step. It had to be the reflection of the moon, just rising over the pine trees. No, not the moon, I realized. I took another few steps. I couldn't take my eyes off the flickering light. So pale, so ghostly pale, in the black cave opening. Sam, I told myself. Yes, it's Sam. He's up there right now, lighting matches. Hoping I'll fall for his trick. Should I climb up there? My sneakers sank into the sand as I took a few more steps toward the cave. The light glimmered in the cave opening. It hovered so near the entrance. Floating, flickering, dancing slowly. Should I go up there, I asked myself? Should I? Yes, I had to climb up there. The light glimmered brighter, as if calling to me. I took a deep breath, then jumped across the tide pool and over some mossy rocks. Then I started. The cave stood high above me, embedded in the boulders. I leaped and scrambled over slippery small rocks until I reached the next boulder. The next big boulder. A halo of yellow moonlight shone down on the rocks, making it easy to see. What was it Nat said about the moon? Something about the ghost coming out when it was full? I scaled the next rock and kept climbing. I could see the ghostly light floating above me in the cave entrance. Up, up. I climbed over the scraggly rocks, slippery from the evening dew. Oh, I cried out as I felt my legs give way. A mini landslide had started under my feet. Small rocks and sand tumbled down the hill behind me. Desperately, I grabbed at a fat root growing out between the rocks. I held on long enough to get my footing. Phew, I took a moment to catch my breath. Then I pulled myself up onto a sturdy boulder and gazed up to the cave. Now it was right above my head. Only another 10 feet or so to go. I stood up and gasped. Whoa, what was that noise behind me? I stood frozen, waiting, listening. Was someone else there? Was the ghost there? I didn't have long to wonder. A cold, clammy hand grabbed my neck. And that's where we're going to stop. So that's where we're going to stop, ladies and gentlemen. So, like I said, the plan is to read through this book in 3 sessions. So, today, Thursday, and Monday next week. Then Tuesday next week, I'll be reading a bunch of stories from More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Tomorrow will be a gaming stream, Borderlands. Friday will be a gaming stream, fingers crossed, hopefully, but gaming stream playing Battlefield 6. Don't know if I'm going to stream Saturday or not, but definitely doing a watch party. I'm going to, my plan is to do a double feature of Phantasm and Hellraiser Saturday evening, if I can get it started early enough for those movies. Yes, only on Kicking YouTube this week. At least for all streams this week. My Twitch suspension will be up Friday. Well, sometime Friday, Saturday morning. I'm not sure exactly when the suspension officially took place, so I don't know officially when it's going to be lifted. But at least this week, all gaming streams will be YouTube and Kick. Moving forward, at least for Battlefield 6, because the suspension might be the suspension will be lifted by the end of this week. However, the violation will be staying on my account for a year. Yeah, so Hassan can get drunk on stream, shock his dog with an inhumane dog collar, and call for the death of a demographic of people. But I say a gamer word here and there, and I get I have a violation on my channel for a year. Yeah, I'm on probation, pretty much. So, moving forward with multiplayer games in particular, like Battlefield 6, I will be streaming solely on YouTube and Kick for that, because I'm not going to bother dealing with Twitch. I have a feeling, given what I've seen of what's been going on with TwitchCon and Dan Clancy, I'm tempted to tag Amazon on X and ask them when they're going to start cleaning house, because Amazon owns Twitch now. So I'm like, are you ever going to clean house? Are you ever going to clean house? Or are you going to watch it lose money? I'm just saying. Yeah. But hello, Frosty Beer. Hope you enjoy listening to the replay. But yeah, so moving forward, at least with the multiplayer games, all right, with the multiplayer games, yeah, scary words are scary. That will be on YouTube and Kick. Every other game like single player games like Borderlands, things like that, will be YouTube, Kick, and Twitch. YouTube, Kick, and Twitch for basically single player games. Multiplayer games, particularly FPS games, will be just YouTube and Kick. So I appreciate it, Tris. Well, thank you. We'll just wait until you see me Friday, because I have a hair appointment Friday morning and then my nail appointment Friday afternoon. So going back to my goth look. I'm going back to my goth look. So wait until you see me at least Friday evening for some Battlefield 6. Sunday, the only stream I'm going to be able to do, if I'm able to stream at all, will be Battlefield 6 with Minority Home, and I believe Disparu, and maybe one other person. I cannot stream Sunday evening, and it's a 50-50 whether or not I stream Monday evening. I might take Monday off too. Well, no, I can't take Monday off because I want to do a reading stream. So, sorry, Monday will be the reading stream. It might be a little bit later. But yeah, definitely no stream Sunday evening. At least no Talk Nerdy Twist or anything like that. I cannot stream. And then Monday will be the reading stream later on. Like I said, it might be a little bit later than I normally do reading streams, but that's the plan. And then Tuesday will be the other reading stream and so forth. Anyway, after that long outro, yes, I'm going to get glammed. Yeah, I'm going to get glammed. You'll see, Trish. You'll see. I'm going to take I mean, I don't know if you're on Instagram or not, but I'll take a at least I'll try to put a picture in the Gronking Discord because I know you're in the Gronking Discord. So if you're not on Instagram, I can post a picture there of my look basically after I get my nails done because my hair appointment's at 10 a.m. my time, and my nail appointment's at 1:15 p.m. my time. So yeah, busy week. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, have a good rest of your day or evening wherever you are in the world, and I will see you all tomorrow evening for some more Borderlands. Probably going to be doing just a bunch of bounties so I can level up and not die constantly to those stupid guns. Alright, good night, stay safe, and peace.